we're all owners of an online business that sell a service. So we need to think less in the terms of I have to be on social media because that's where some of my people are, when that's where all of our people are.
Hi, and welcome to episode 1 of the Smart Agents Podcast. My name is Michael Walter, and I'll be your host. Each episode, we'll be doing interviews with real estate insiders from all walks of life, whether they're brand new agents just starting out or 35-year vets leading the top grossing teams in the nation. We're going to be talking to them to get inspiration from you and tips for you on how to grow your business. Now, for a little housekeeping, make sure you subscribe to the podcast version of the show wherever you find your podcast, whether that is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you name it, we're there. And also, while you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and click the subscribe button for us and hit the notification bell to get notified every time we drop a new episode. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get on with today's interview. Madison Schott is a brand new agent out of Black Hills, South Dakota, with just 1 year as a licensed realtor. But as we all know, the whole world turned upside down with the pandemic, and that was just 6 months into her career, but it hasn't stopped her. In today's conversation, we're going to hear how she has actually gotten 21 pending contracts in the last 3 months by using a community-based approach with a newsletter and her social media posts. Let's check it out.
All right. So to go ahead and get started, if you could just tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're at, and how long you've been in real estate.
Yeah, so first of all, my name is Madison Schott, and I actually sell in Western South Dakota in the Black Hills area. So I focus mostly on the Northern Hills area, but kind of sell everywhere in our Black Hills location. I just celebrated my 1 year of being licensed in August, but I've been familiar and kind of training in the industry since June of 2019, so just a little over a year. I recently joined a new team. So I started out doing real estate on a team and wasn't the right fit for me. So I joined a new team right as COVID hit. And so that was back, what would have been April?
Right.
After April, I joined and I've been with them ever since, and definitely a great fit for me now. So I do, 99% residential and buy and sell. Don't really have a specialty there yet, but
right.
Kind of what I've been doing so far. So
right. So being into it a year and 6 months into it, COVID hits. I'm sure that was a little bit of a shock.
Yeah, it was shocking. But it definitely, my production has never been better since this started. I mean, your first year, you're not expected to produce very much, but I, had 21 pending homes under contract in the last 3 months.
Wow.
From COVID. Our market skyrocketed. The Black Hills, I don't know if it's just they want to get out of the big cities, but everybody and their brother, it seems, is coming to our location. And It's such a hot seller's market right now that we've got a lot of people wanting to downsize or upsize, whatever that looks like for them. So.
Oh, no, that's great. I mean, so yeah, that's great. So when we get out of this, you have all these people that you've worked with that will, that are now part of your community.
Right. Exactly. Yep. So it's been crazy, but I can't complain.
Right. When you responded to the email, you talked about branding. Correct.
Yes.
So what have you been doing to kind of start building your brand as a newer agent?
So before I got into real estate, which mind you, this was the last thing I ever saw myself doing as a career. I'm sure most people can say that as well. But I'm on the younger side, younger generation. So I've always, kind of had a little bit more of a head start in the social media aspect of things. But something that I heard an agent say, I'm with Keller Williams Realty, so of course we've got our family reunion and mega camp every year, right? We've got our trainings. And one of the top producing agents, she said, we're all owners of an online business that sell a service. So we need to think less in the terms of I have to be on social media because that's where some of my people are, when that's where all of our people are, because we're an online business. So when I recognized that, I shifted my perspective. It made it a lot easier to understand you have to show up. And you have to show up and present your message. it's more important than ever to determine your niche and attract the customers that you want to work with, especially in today's world. And yeah, that's just kind of what it came down to. It's not necessarily what my logo looks like. What does my headshot look like? What colors do I use? It's more, what is my message, and am I showing up consistently with original content every day so that people can rely on me and know that I'm someone they can trust? Because that's what people do, business with people that they know, like, and they trust. That's what it comes down to. Right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, nowadays, you have to be accessible online, and you want that message. You want that message that you're projecting to be able to, come through. And I think a lot of people don't quite get that. They think, if I just post my listing, post, that I'm all good and that's all I need to do. But that's not allowing a potential client to get to know you.
Right. Exactly. It really comes down to, everybody now, it's familiar with the new career, I guess you could say, of being a social media influencer. Mm-hmm. You post a lot of photos, you sell a lot of products, you make a lot of money. Right. But the difference that in my opinion, for creating a brand for a real estate agent, and even, for all online business owners, is there's a difference between being an influencer and being influential. An influencer is someone that is portraying their life, but not a lot of people can relate to them. They're saying, follow me because I'm not like you, where, an influential person is sharing their story, sharing their content, and saying, follow me because I am like you. So there's a difference there. And who do you really want to work with? You're going to be attracting people because, like I said, they know you, they trust you, they like you, they can relate to you, versus someone who spends half a year over and across the world. Right. No shame to that. Like, I wish I had a job like that. That would be awesome. But that's, in our world, in real estate and as a business owner, it's just, you have to shift there. So. Right.
So what are you doing to be that influential?
Yeah. So I try to show up everywhere, first of all. And there's a little bit of a learning curve. Like I said, I am on the younger side, but there's still a lot of social media platforms that are really hard to keep up with, especially when you're also selling real estate. Right. But I try to be everywhere that I can be: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and I do a lot of email marketing as well. Mm-hmm. That's one of my biggest things. This is actually, I don't know if you're familiar with Ricky Caruth. Mm-hmm. So he, when you're a first year real estate agent or new to the business, you try to go around and absorb everything that anyone has to say to see what's going to work for you. Right. And he has always been one that I really related to. And he sent, since 2007, I think, 2007 or 2008, he's sent out a weekly email every Wednesday to his list of people. And that's his whole follow-up extent. Is his weekly email. So when I took his training and course, I started that with my business, and I've been doing a weekly email ever since. It's original content. I'm pretty community focused, so it's about small businesses, but it also has information about my listings, things that always direct me back to my websites. They sign up and I can collect their information. And that's been huge. I think last week's email, I had a 51% open rate.
Wow.
Which is a lot compared to the national average. Yes. And I have, in a year and a half of being a real estate agent, I have about 800 people on my email list. And that just looks like meeting people, mm-hmm. social media, calling, whatever that is, your sphere of influence, and adding them to your database and to your email list. So that's one way that I show up. And then it's just about being authentic. People really, they care what you're doing every day. Mm-hmm. We all go on YouTube and watch videos of people vlogging or whatever mm-hmm. that looks like. They just want to see what's a day in your life look like. So that's a lot of what my content looks like. I try to educate, mm-hmm. but my education is definitely in very specific platforms. Yeah. The people that you are posting to, or that are seeing your content on different types of social media platforms, are going to be different. Facebook audience is going to be different than Instagram. So It's tailoring it to who Facebook might be better for your audience to be a little bit more educational, to share the market statistics, etc. Whereas Instagram is definitely going to be attracting more of the younger generation, and they want to see, what are you doing every day? What does it look like in your office? What are you doing at appointments? So I think it's just trying to figure out exactly what your audience wants to see from you in the different platforms and then tailoring it to that. Right. I definitely try to stay away from repurposing content from other real estate agents or something like that. I mean, your content should really be your specific message delivered in a consistent and original way, right. Original content that you're creating. So,
right. So with doing all this and having a full-time real estate business, what kind of I'd imagine you have to have some kind of a schedule to do this.
So I'm very into time blocking. It's just like a big part of being a real estate agent, I feel, kind of working at it every day. But I probably spend about an hour a week really planning my content, probably 30 minutes sending out my weekly email, and then 30 minutes every day. And honestly, that can just be scrolling and engaging with people, which we all scroll on social media. You can't deny it. Right. We all have the time to go in there and engage with people. Something that I'm trying to wrap my mind around, and it's just been a constant struggle to get myself where I want to be, is remembering that what you're doing, even though you know what you're doing, it's an every single day thing for you. Other people want to see what you're doing. Right. So, Instagram stories, Snapchat stories, those things are probably my biggest weakness right now that I'm working on, but just remembering to also show up on that, and in addition to your planned content that I spend about an hour on every week. So,
right.
Yeah.
So your email that you send us, you said you highlight, it's very community based, so you highlight different places. I think that's awesome. That's a really
So for example, last week I highlighted a photographer in our area. We get all 4 seasons here, so we're having the fall, like the leaves change into the fall colors. Right. And he took a beautiful photo of the river that goes through the town that I live in and posted it on Facebook, and I'm a part of all of those community groups. Right. So I just emailed him and said, hey, would you mind if I, shared this photo on my email? It goes out to about 800 people, just talking about, of course, I'll give you credit and all that stuff. And he was super excited to do that. So it's just every week I try to find, whether that's partnering with your Chamber of Commerce to find things that are local. And honestly, it's a really good excuse and a motivator to have more connections with business owners in your community, because they buy real estate too, and they know a lot of people that buy real estate. So, so I tend to do a kind of how it's formatted is like a community highlight at the very top. And then it talks a lot about our market, our real estate market. So I do a featured listing every week. I've got links that go to each different town that they can go and search there if they're wanting to move to a specific area. Different things like that. I am going to start integrating more community centered, because I want it to be a pretty even balance of real estate and other content, just so that I can, appeal to everybody that's watching. But in addition to like giveaways, things like that, I mean, pretty much whatever you want, it's your email.
Right.
So.
Right. No, well, and I think, by doing that, like you said, you had a 51% open rate. Like by doing that and giving that kind of content that your community is interested in, you're going to keep that open rate, because they're going to start saying, oh, every week she sends out this awesome email. I really want to check it out. And so
every day I try to do it at the same time, but we're real estate agents. It gets crazy. I try to send it out around like 8 a.m. as soon as I get to the office, but every Wednesday at least. And I tend not to really focus on anything. Open rate is great, but they're still seeing your name pop up in your inbox every week, regardless if they're opening or not. And, of course, you've got your click amount, if they're clicking on your links or whatnot, getting out of the email and going to another piece of content you created. But something that Ricky Carruth really highlights when he talks about his weekly email is that he does not look at his unsubscribes.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because you just don't want to work with those people.
Right. Well, and
to you, so
it's one of those I'm a big proponent of positive thinking, and that's just the one or two people that unsubscribe from email, whatever, it's fine. How many did I add this week? It balances.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, from the 820 that I sent last week, only 9 unsubscribed. Yeah. And I'm adding 10 or 15 a week. So in the grand scheme of things, that's nothing.
Right.
Right. So, but that's been huge. And, I've only been doing this for a couple months now, the email, when I say that. But, Ricky Carruth has been sending it for the last however many years, since 2007 or 8. And he sells over 100 homes a year. So it works if you work it.
Right. Do it. Well, anytime somebody does something for that long, it's got to be working, or they'd stop doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And I use MailChimp. I think that he uses something different, but I used MailChimp in my previous careers, so I was a little bit more familiar with the platform. It's free for your up to so many subscribers, I believe.
I think it's 2,000. I was actually just looking at it not too long ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And I figure by the time I get to 2,000 subscribers, I probably can afford to pay for it every month. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But there's so many different platforms out there. I know Constant Contact is another one. I'm not sure if they've got a free version or not, though. So essentially all it does is take about 30 minutes of my time every week. And I prep it the day before, so I have time to reach out to the local businesses I'm going to feature and then send it out, and that's about it.
But it's so beneficial to your business, but then also your community too, because I know for me, if I move in somewhere and I'm getting an email saying this, check out this cool new place, or maybe this is a spot you haven't heard of yet, that's for me to be able to take my family there, or I'm really going to appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. So on a consumer side, they're appreciating it because it's educational. It's teaching them about the real estate market, and everybody's curious about it, whether they say they are or not. Everybody wants to know.
Right. Oh, yeah.
They either own a home and want to know what there's worth, or they want to buy a home eventually and want to know how to do that. And, whether that's in the near future or way down the road, everybody cares about it, but they also care about other things. And we're business owners, we're brand owners, we're not just real estate agents. So we need to appeal to more than just the real estate side, because we're dealing with human beings every day.
Right. Well, and I think what you say, also, you're a business owner. And I think so many times people forget that when they do work for a larger brokerage, is at the end of the day, you are your brand. And the agents that understand that and work towards that and build their brand are the successful ones.
Right, exactly. Keller Williams and any of the other big brokerages are out there because they have a big brand, and they know, consumers know who they are. And, unfortunately this can be a good or a bad thing, but everything that you do every single day is either helping you build your brand or hurting your brand. So it's really important to know what you need to be doing to, help it grow your business. So
right. So when it comes to the Instagrams or some of those other platforms, are you using any programs or apps to kind of help you create? So I should. I will be the first one to tell you that I'm not perfect at this. It's a work in progress. I think it's always changing too. That's the.
Exactly. So right now I use Canva if I'm going to be creating any graphics. I think everybody knows about it. It's fantastic. I have a graphic design background, and it's probably one of the better things I've seen other than Photoshop, and Adobe Suites. So I use that. I really try to stay away from graphics in the Instagram feed because the algorithm doesn't love it.
Right.
So my graphics are more towards Facebook. Like I said, I have more of an educational based audience there, or even Instagram stories.
Right.
Pinterest is another really great one for graphics as well. In terms of, I use the Facebook scheduling, the built into that platform, but other than that, I really like to be authentic and just post, in the moment.
Right.
And I know that's not always, it's probably not the best way and the best use of my time, but so far, what I've seen work for me is when I have content that I think, that would be really great to post here. I am taking the photo, I'm taking the video, and maybe I'm not posting it right then and there, but I'm using it, throughout.
Right. Well, and I think that also, it helps make it to where it doesn't become another part of the job, right? So it's not, you're not punching that, you're not checking that off the checklist every day of, I have to post this at 8:00 and then another one at 3:00. You're staying engaged with it. So it's going to come across in your content also.
Right. Yes. So I do think it's a little bit more authentic. With that being said, I'm a big believer in leverage. Huge believer in leverage, and so is my team. My team, we've got listings leveraged out for us. We've got transactions leveraged out for us. So in the future, I would love to leverage social media and branding or public relations, all of that. I would love to leverage that out to someone who can do it better than I can and who's smarter than me in that way. And then I'm sure then they can tell me, I need you to show up in this way, wear this, do this, and they would be fantastic at it. But for now, I do think it works for me because it's me who's posting it. It's me who's, engaging with them, and it's very authentic. So, that's kind of my right now plan. Eventually, down the road, we'll get there.
So I really appreciate Madison for taking the time to talk to us. I really love her community-minded approach to her newsletter and her social media posting. Now, if you think you or somebody on your team has an awesome story or great tips to share with our community, please reach out at feedback@smartagents.com. We'd love to talk to you. So that wraps things up for this episode. But remember, you can follow the show wherever you get your podcasts at, and go ahead and subscribe to this channel to get notifications every time we drop a new episode. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one.